What's happening, Internet fam? So I'm very excited today to bring on my good friend, the Crypto Stache. And we haven't talked for a while, so we're going to have a lot to catch up on. And this is kind of a dry run because tomorrow I'm interviewing presidential candidate for the Libertarian Party, Adam Kokesh. Very excited about that. So let's bring Shea in the studio here. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, what's going on, man?
Man, we haven't talked for a while.
I know, since you kind of moved to Hawaii, you've been doing your thing out there, hustling, and all the stuff that you've kind of had to triumph over, and I've been hustling over here too, man. It's been a little while, dude, but it's great to be back here shooting the shit with you.
The stash is looking good.
Yeah, I'm going all natural today. I didn't like put it up in the thing, but yeah, man, it's
No, I prefer all natural. Especially when it's on your face. Like, I feel like if you put product, because I've done it before, I had a big stash at one point, and you put the wax in there, and then it gets in your food, and you're eating the wax, and you're like, I don't know if this is FDA approved.
That's never happened to me.
No, never once?
Nope.
Well, I just eat like this, so maybe,
Yeah,
maybe
right.
you eat differently than me. So, man, so much has happened in the crypto space since last time we talked. Now, for instance, YouTube is now banning crypto channels left and
Yeah.
right. Is that something you're concerned about? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so that, funny that you mentioned that. Obviously, I have a YouTube channel and I do a lot of crypto stuff on there. And I've been doing it for, not too long, but a little over a year is when I started my video stuff. I've obviously been doing crypto stuff longer than that, but it didn't affect me. None of my videos got taken down. I didn't get any strikes. I'm not sure exactly why that was. I mean, obviously, I have a smaller channel on there, but this is kind of my theory here. So you want to hear my whole theory about how this went down and why it went down?
Yes.
Because I think that Google is getting ready to make some plays in blockchain, and I think that they were testing part of a new algorithm to be able to start identifying some of these things that they don't want on their platform. And I think it kind of started overreaching, right? So it started overreaching when it was given these new directives, essentially like start giving strikes for this new kind of content because they feel there's some sort of impending regulation that's coming that's going to affect some of those things. And I think they might actually have a play here when it comes down to, I wouldn't say necessarily blockchain solutions, but possibly them getting into the game in some sort of way.
Well, I think if you're a technology company and you're not thinking about getting in blockchain, that would be insane. That'd be like in the early 1900s, not thinking about getting into the automobile industry or something. But so your theory is that you think that they were just testing out the algorithm and that it like kind of overreached for a second because they didn't have the parameters set quite right.
Yeah, because how does that happen all of the sudden?
Yeah.
People have been making crypto videos on these same topics for years.
Yeah.
How is it that just like, oh, it was an accident? Because that's basically what they said. They said we didn't do this on purpose, guys. It wasn't a thing. It was it happened and we rolled it back. It was part. I didn't read the whole article of exactly what they said was the excuse.
Yeah.
But essentially, it was supposedly an accident. It wasn't meant to happen, and that's what I think. I think that they had they were probably working on some new some algorithm test bed stuff that may have gotten deployed somehow, or something got changed in the way that they tag some of these things. Looking about adding new rules, because when you look at a system that they would have for something like this, okay, well, what does Google build to go and find violations to their terms of policy? Well, they have like a low-level AI that's like a learning bot that goes around looking for certain keywords or certain things. So what something happened is someone on the back end put in a new keyword or a couple of them, and then it started flagging people right away and banning videos and doing it in mass. And so they had to quickly roll back, like, oh man, we shouldn't have done that. But why would they be looking at doing something like that in the first place? I think it may have to do with the fact that either they're looking to make a play in the industry here in 2020, or they may know something really about regulation that we don't know that they're getting ready for. That maybe they're ahead of the game on. So I think that it could definitely signify one or both, possibly.
Well, I think you're definitely right that it had something to do with their automation. And I mean, AI is tricky to get right even in the best of times. And especially when you're talking about something that's such a the cryptocurrency in general is just such a broad thing. I mean, there's thousands of cryptocurrencies. It's going to be used for all kinds of stuff. I could really see it'd be very easy to mess that up. So
Yeah,
You
and
can,
I mean, and the regulation's very gray in most areas right now, but the United States is really starting to come out pretty strong on regulation and what they're going to do. Now they've said that they have specific regulatory bodies that are going to manage certain aspects of it, and they're definitely laying the framework here. So I think that when you look at compliance laws that websites like YouTube have to always look at because they're so huge in scale. They just roll out the whole child privacy one where it's like now you have to make sure and check that you're not advertising to children on each video you upload because of new regulations. And I think that the same thing will happen when it comes down to like financial investments. Like they're not going to allow somebody to make and create videos on their platform that is a huge Ponzi scheme, and if they start deeming that Bitcoin is something of that nature because they have a digital currency they want to come out, or because they know new regulations are coming out, that's something you definitely would want to be working on and testing in the background and have ready.
well, and that's
so, like I said, there's no way it could have happened on accident. It was definitely something they were testing for some sort of reason.
but that's an interesting thought too. I mean, for them to be censoring crypto videos if they're going to put out their own crypto, how is that not anti-competitive behavior? That's like totally illegal. You know what I mean?
It definitely could.
Hold on a second. Somebody's calling me.
What is this? You got another lover over here?
This is very inappropriate.
That you know what that better be Uncle JJ right there, right? Is that
Grandpa JJ?
Grandpa JJ? You're right. Is that him on the other
That was
line?
Grandpa JJ. He's the crypto stash is a scam. It kind of slowed my roll though on the whole crypto video thing, because I put out so much content on YouTube. I do a lot of music, I do a lot of technology stuff. I do political stuff as well. And it's funny. So have you ever gotten flagged by YouTube before for anything?
I have not.
I have. And the funny,
Never. And you know what? I've uploaded hundreds of videos on YouTube, man. I mean, and music.
How many videos do you have
crypto,
right now?
all kinds of stuff.
Approximately.
What's that?
How many videos do you have approximately right now?
On this channel, I have probably like 180, 200 videos on my Crypto Stache channel. I have other YouTube channels with almost like 1,000 videos or so, and they're like music videos and
Right,
stuff.
yeah.
Across multiple channels. So I have like 2 or 3 other channels, plus old bands. I mean, I have so many, man, where I've uploaded different things for different occasions. I've never been flagged ever. I've never had any violation.
What's your biggest channel as far as the most videos? Would that be like the Long Beach Party Project? Because I know you're doing a lot of videos back then.
Long Beach Independent, yeah, is the music magazine thing that I was doing.
Okay, yeah. Because I remember there were a lot of videos back then. It's funny. I have been flagged, and and I have like these like political opinions that I feel
right, because you're incredibly opinionated. So I would flag you. I'm not surprised. I'm like, yeah, right.
Here's the hilarious part, right? They didn't flag me for my like music, which is like very controversial. They didn't flag me for my politics, which is like at least mildly controversial, even if you're barely woke. But they totally
partially woke.
Yeah. They flagged me for an airship video.
Yeah,
because it was like
really?
Yeah, for some copyright thing. So they're like, oh yeah, no, this part of this airship video was owned by Discovery Channel, so you got to strike on your thing. And I'm like,
yeah, if you're using clips from something else that's like they can go and strike you.
Yeah, but it's so and for me it kind of gives more credence to the idea that I think that there's not really a thin line between anarchy and like total fascism. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like once you start going down that slippery slope, you're going to go one way or the other. And I think right now the way YouTube's just censoring everybody, I mean, we're in my opinion, we're clearly heading towards fascism, at least online with some of these platforms,
Yeah, I mean, it's always a give and take, man. I mean, I don't know. I don't see it as black and white as you do. I don't think it's like one or the other. I think that there's always a middle ground that they're trying to find, and that middle ground has to do with how much profit they can extract from us.
Yeah.
So
that's the black and white. Does it make money?
Really that's what it comes down to. I think that they want to only give up enough so we're happy enough to continue spending money, but still getting enough from us, for giving whatever they give for free or whatever it may be. Yeah. And that's a give and take of a centralized platform. And so when you talk about like that versus decentralized platforms that where they don't have those kinds of powers and they're not restrictive or filtering content or whatever it may be, taking some of these things down because of some of these restrictions.
Well, that's a great question, because I was uploading stuff to DTube and now I've been uploading some stuff to BitChute. But I mean, BitChute isn't really decentralized, right? It's just a more freedom of speech centralized platform. But
Right.
I mean, what, as soon as government or Google or whoever comes in and buys it or takes over, I mean, they're going to start doing the same thing, right? So,
Yeah.
so what do you think? I mean, have you seen any decentralized replacements for YouTube that have some kind of? And by the way, because of all this chatter, I might actually upload this to BitChute because I don't want to get flagged on YouTube.
Nice.
So, I mean, have you seen anything like? Because I mean, DTube kind of died, right? Or is it still alive? I mean, I haven't really followed the space that well.
I kind of have, and recently too, because of everything went on, I went back in and really dove more in because I was doing the same thing. I've been uploading my stuff obviously to YouTube, but then I upload it to other sites that are like considered blockchain-based sites or decentralized sites like DTube. I was doing a BitTube as well, and DLive was another one. And then now revisiting some of these things recently, my favorite one that I've actually found is called Library. I don't know if you've heard of Library, but Library is like a decentralized solution one, and it actually has like a downloadable client that you can download. Plus, you can use the web interface, whatever.
Yeah.
But what it does is you actually are storing parts of different files, video files that you're watching on there to be able to be considered a node essentially, and you be able are serving those things P2P.
Yeah, and you're earning.
So it is
you're
kind of
earning
in that way as
you're earning
decentralized file storage of your videos.
You're earning some crypto in the background when you're doing that, right?
Yeah. You can earn like library credits, tokens, or whatever in the background for doing various tasks, watching videos, uploading content, getting subscribers, things like that.
I played with that, like, this had to have been like 2-3 years ago now. I mean, it was a while ago, and I played with it, and I found that there were like movies you could actually watch. Like, you could actually watch movies on there. So, I mean, again, there's that slippery slope between how do we keep people from uploading the Avengers and yet like not censor people for talking about cryptocurrency or something. It's really...
It's a hard, that's what I'm saying. It's a hard, that solution right there, you're right, it is a very, what censorship is enough, or can you let it go and be no censorship? I mean, I think that's still a problem that we're trying. I mean, that's what we would love, but complete anarchy we know it doesn't work, man. You could say just let live and everything goes, no rules. But ultimately, that really doesn't work that well for humans either, and that's kind of the issue.
Well, I think
both extremes don't really work that well for humans and how we kind of work, in a capacity. So we need to find some sort of good middle ground, but it is damn hard to find that middle ground.
And I might agree with you on other aspects. For me, like copyright and information, I say just let it go, man. Just let it go, because right now the way like Disney, like by some loophole, they were able to add the copyright to some film they bought after it was already like out of copyright, and then add the copyright back based on one transcription of a piano roll from the 1800s that they had remembered to like re-copyright. And so now the whole film is like copyrighted again. It's like, come on, that's like obviously egregious, right?
Manipulating the system.
Yeah, totally. And of course they have the billions of dollars to do it, so they're gonna, and so for me, that's why I'm like, I'd really like to see like a totally censorship-free video platform where it's like it's not even possible, And
I mean, I'm saying it's not, man. Really, when you talk about regulations and things you're gonna have to follow, I mean, it's essentially you're building a Silk Road.
Exactly.
You could say it's for videos. I mean, you could say, oh, drugs, whatever. But yeah, and those are inherently illegal. But so is pirating in most, states and countries across the world. Not every country, obviously. Yeah. But in a majority of them, it really is. And I'm with you, man. I think the copyright system and everything kind of sucks and it's stupid, especially in this digital age. I remember seeing something about Instagram wanting to censor people who were using memes on the platform, but they did not pay for the original stock footage or stock image that someone got originally. Yeah. It's been memed 20 million times now. Yeah. Because people just keep taking, you know what I'm saying, and keep using it over and over. Yeah. And so you get to the point where like, well, how can we enforce this? Well, maybe blockchain will be able to help with that, or maybe not. I wouldn't mind a micro tokenized economy where anytime you did use something like that, it was just a tiny fraction of a penny that you had to pay, and it was just done seamlessly, and you didn't have to do anything. But I think that's way down the road, and but those are the type of solutions I think we're trying to move towards. Of what can replace total anarchy with no censorship, and then complete fascism with 100% censorship of everything we deem not. So it's hard. But I do feel like blockchain is going to be one of the things that helps us to get to where the best place is for that.
It's definitely
as long as the corporations allow us to do that without raping us too hard.
That's a big as long as. Yeah. I mean, given what we've seen so far, I mean, it's not like they have this track record of like being reasonable and like, I
Oh
mean,
yeah, oh no, of course.
I
Yo,
mean,
we're very the world and the United States and everybody, just anybody reasonable. Government's reasonable.
well,
Like
I mean,
nobody. I don't know.
Google took Tulsi Gabbard's money for advertising, and she paid for ads during the presidential debates.
Oh
And
really?
yeah, and then they said no. They're like, oh no, and they just gave her her money
Just
back.
kidding.
Like, yeah, just
Yeah.
kidding. Like, oh, thanks for your money. Yeah, you bought the ad
I
time. Oh,
mean,
and then here's your money because we don't want to advertise you during the debates because you're not our candidate. And it's like,
right.
then now they're rigging I mean, that's election rigging.
Dude, and that's once again, but those are centralized platforms. See, if they were
Yeah,
at least decentralized, you would have a point where it's like, well,
yeah,
you could have a search engine that's decentralized where anybody could go and just pay money for ads, and it's not whether dependent on whether that's okay with what they say, and you don't have to worry about the fact that they have an opinion
yeah,
on exactly who it is. If they allow political ads, any political or politician should be able to be advertised.
yeah,
Even if it's the Nazi Party, right?
yeah.
I wouldn't be for that. That's not something I would support. But if you want to talk about full censorship or non censorship, right? You would have to be able to allow everyone to be able to advertise
Yeah,
and do.
yeah.
And that's kind of like I said, there are give and takes when you talk about a decentralized versus centralized platform. So
Well, I mean, with the candidates we've got this year, I'm advocating for exhuming Joseph Stalin. So, we just pull him up out of the ground, put him in a wheelchair. I mean, he's got to be
like a Weekend at Bernie's style.
Weekend at Bernie's with Joseph Stalin. Like, it's good.
We could do that. I think that'd be a fun sketch to do. We should.
You've got the stash already, so we're we're halfway there. So I had a few. Man, there's so much has gone on since I've talked to you last. So I want to talk to you about the crypto bridge exit scam, the Cryptopia exit scam. I mean, these are all things that have happened kind of since the last Stache and Chop show, which was like about a year ago now or something.
Been at least a year, dude.
Was it? No. Was it? Oh yeah,
2008 was the last episode I think we did. We did it the end of 2008. So
wait, 2008. That's like 12 years ago.
I mean, I'm sorry, 2018. Yeah,
2018. I think it was like late summer 2018, right? When we went around LA, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was hella fun. That was hella fun. But I mean, so to me, that just seems like it shows that if it's a centralized platform, they're going to exit scam. It's not a matter of if they're going to exit scam. It's just a matter of when. Like, are they going to exit scam this year, next year, 10 years? At some point, they're going to exit scam.
Once again, I think that's very absolute of you to say no matter what, if they're centralized, they'll exit scam. I don't think that's the case. I think that just like an emerging technology, just like how emerging and cutting edge Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies are in themselves, you're always going to find the people who are going to use that to their own advantage to scam somebody.
Yeah.
And it happens every time, man. It happened with the internet, the beginning. How many people have scammed people over using the internet, man? Especially in the early days, dude. It was so easy to scam somebody,
Yeah, yeah.
Because there's just so many people who don't have the knowledge and unsuspecting. And I think that's the same way in crypto. Is that people who have some experience, have been in the game just a little while. I think most of them kind of understood that hey, this thing is a scam. I shouldn't be doing that. If you've lived through BitConnect times, I think you're a seasoned veteran of knowing what you should avoid. Not everything's gonna pan out in the space in general. People were gold rushing to try and get a project out, get an exchange up, do all these things, and some of them just kind of suck at what they do, and so they end up with a crappy project, and they either exit scam, or because they built a crappy project, they get hacked and kind of have to exit scam, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And they have no other choice.
Yeah.
And so that's why I've always just kind of tried to promote the ones that have been
my favorite
large entities in the space. But do you ever really trust any of these centralized exchanges? Of course not, man. I mean, I trust them about as far as I can throw them, as far as I do a bank. But sometimes you have to rely on them for getting certain things done, unfortunately, because we're just not at that time where it's incredibly effective to use a decentralized exchange.
You mentioned the hack forced exit scam, right? My favorite is when it's a self-hacked forced exit scam. For me, I don't know. Looking at the data, I don't know if you ever went through this, but looking at the data for the whole Mt. Gox thing, to me, it seems very clear that Mark Karpelis, or I don't know how to say his name, but it seems like to me, it was very clear he was involved.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, there's a lot of people that are shady out there that will do things like this, and you think, oh man, because they've become this gigantic institution that they're not susceptible to corruption and things like that. And sometimes that's the case, and sometimes it's not. I think in crypto, more than often, people see it as being the case, but I think it's just because the spotlight's put on it. Things like this are happening in other industries all the time. It's just not as made of a big thing. Like, oh, someone stole this amount of money, or they scammed so and so. I mean, scams are happening every day, all day long, in all kinds of industries. I get bombarded every damn day with phone calls of people trying to scam you by saying that your social security number has been put on hold. Give us a call. There's so many ways to do it. So
the Microsoft
scams are just out there. They're things you need to protect yourself from, and cryptocurrency is no exception, unfortunately. But that doesn't mean that there's nobody out there that you should give a little bit of trust to. I mean, like I said, there are some larger exchanges that I trust. Not that they're the best, but I trust Coinbase. Are they the best exchange? Do they give you the best rates? No, they don't. They pretty much rape you with their fees, and they are a third party, custodial service that you have to trust with your coins. You don't actually hold your own Bitcoin on their platform.
Well, you can take
services that you may need, and so sometimes you may have to sacrifice some of those things to be able to get the services you need at this.
You can pull your private keys off of Coinbase and actually hold your private keys. So, but you're still trusting them with the custodianship, so it's still kind of
It's
not the same as actually holding your own keys, which is the point, right?
Well, that's the case with most exchanges. I mean, you can export stuff, but it's not. I mean, they're still holding it until you move it somewhere else.
Yeah.
Until that coin has been officially moved from that wallet to wherever else you want to put it, then it's still sitting there and they're still holding it. You don't own it.
Yeah.
So if their server went down or something happened, good luck trying to get it out at that point.
So you and I have both been to a lot of different blockchain conferences over the last few years, and which it's weird we've never been to one together, because I've been to like 3 or 4, and I know you've been to like 5 or 6 now, right?
Yeah.
And we've never been to one at the same time. When you're there, what I found was like really interesting is one of the ones I went to. I think it was the one up in the Bay Area, Blockchain Expo, I think it's called. Anyway, when I was there was like a state booth, like for was it the SEC or one of the state regulators that's supposed to kind of regulate the financial sector, and they were talking about scams, right? Mm-hmm. And so I went to go talk to them, and I'm like, well, obviously the biggest scam in the space is exit scams. What are you guys doing about exit scams? And the lady was like, what's an exit scam? And I'm like,
the confidence in them to regulate an industry, right, just really went up.
1,000%. I was like, it's like literally the biggest thing that's happening in this industry, like all the time. Like, how do you not know what an exit scam is? So, I mean, did you ever go by any of those booths? Have you talked to any of them? Because it really seemed like when I was talking to them, they wanted to help. They wanted to do the right thing. They were really like trying to, but they were just so out of touch. It was like never.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've never talked to any SEC personnel or any government officials about crypto. Really, to be honest,
I love you.
I don't know.
Was it too soon?
Definitely not too soon. I just haven't been in a position where anyone were at an event that I was particularly at. Because usually when at the conferences I go to, it's all crypto focused things. There's not like nobody wants the wolves in the hen house, right? Like you don't fight the regulators to come in and like, oh man, at least 5 of the people exhibiting today, they seem like they probably won't pass our SEC examination for a securities token. Maybe we should put them on our list. Like that would be bad if like someone paid to be at your conference and then the SEC was also there and tagged them. I feel pretty bad, but
I'm almost sure that occurred. But it's funny though because, like I said, after talking to them, they were so clueless. They probably tagged somebody who was totally innocent while walking right past like the obvious scam artist.
Yeah.
So
well, I mean, of course they're clueless, man. I mean, this is a brand new industry that just not that many people know that much about yet. I mean, there's really no experts out there. I'm always learning every day. There's so many people out there that are more informed than me, and obviously a lot of people they're less informed, but. The SEC is probably on the less side, along with IRS and a couple other
or like
government.
The nun side? Is there a nun side?
Yeah, maybe the nun side. But no, they're getting there. Like some of you're right. Some they're making some attempts and stuff, but it just sucks because some of the attempts they're making definitely have long-term implications.
Yeah. And
so I think it's just we need to be very cautious of that and supporting it coming to light and regulating in the right way.
Yeah, yeah. So one of the things I've meaning to talk to you. Sorry, this is going to be the worst segue of the show. But you had an interview with Tim Draper. I was like, what? How did you get Tim Draper? That's amazing. talk to me about how that happened, and if like some part of your previous credentials. I mean, you've been in this space doing shows for a while. You've been doing some really legitimate content, helping beginners and stuff. I mean, that class I attended in Long Beach that you put on was like, I thought that was really a needed thing in the space. You know, there's a lot of
Yeah.
people who want to get into it who are just clueless, and watching a bunch of YouTube videos isn't quite the same as being in a room with somebody and be able to ask questions and all that kind of thing. So how is it that you got to that point? Did somebody set you up to help you with that? Tell me more about that.
Yeah, so Tim is great, man. Honestly, as far as like people just to kind of chat with, I wish I could have had more time with him because he's just really fun to kind of talk with,
Yeah.
And I got a chance to interview him at the CIS conference here in Los Angeles. So I was a media sponsor of the event, and I had my own media booth there, and so I was doing interviews and on the spot type of things. And Tim is one of the investors, and obviously he was one of the main guest speakers for the event as well that time. So I'm also friends with the people who organize the event as well. They're really great event producers here and big supporters of everything crypto and blockchain. So they were the ones that hooked me up with the opportunity. They were like, hey, we're going to bring Tim over just for a quick interview if you want to do some video with him, ask him a couple questions. And I was like, yeah, I'd love to. And as somebody who I followed, I've read his recent book. It's pretty inspiring, and as far as model entrepreneur, it's a great great kind of path to follow. So yeah, me and Tim just kind of got into a couple blockchain things and shoot the shit. And funny enough, the first thing we talk about actually is my mustache and his giant eyebrows. We went on a comparison, contrast. So that was kind of fun.
Well, I have huge eyebrows. I've actually started.
No, dude, your eyebrows are nothing compared to Tim's eyebrows.
Well, they're not now because I've been shaving them. But if I don't shave them, they come out here like this. I look like the Lemony Snicket thing. I got these huge wings. My grandpa, before he died, had these like huge wings, and I definitely got his eyebrows. So but I've been shaving them. I got like a little step razor, and I just kind of like clean them up. So
you got some thoofer eyebrows.
Oh yeah, I mean literally, I could do like the whole thing, like, but I don't. I shave them, and they grow fast too. Like, yeah, I'll shave them, and like 3 weeks later, I'll see some hair. Like, whoop! Like, what is going on?
Damn, I'm not there yet, man. But thanks for vision.
Well, you got the stash. You're good. You're good.
True.
So he's like primarily like an angel investor, was what you would call him. Yeah, he comes
venture capitalist. Yeah,
venture capitalist. So did you get a sense of other things he was interested in besides blockchain? Is that his primary focus? Did he like? I'm really interested like in why somebody like him isn't putting more money into thorium reactors, for instance. But I mean,
well, as a venture capitalist, man, he definitely invests in a wide variety of things. So I don't think he like specifies in any specific category. But he's looking for great companies to back. And I think that just the ethos of Bitcoin in general aligns a lot with like his own personality and thoughts on kind of where things should go and regulation, industry, and currency. And so I think that's really the reason why he supports it in general, and why he became a Bitcoin fan, is because I think he kind of has a little bit of that kind of punk rock, cypherpunk type of attitude, mentality a little bit there. And that translates into I think love for Bitcoin and what it can do, and kind of doors that it's opened, and new avenues for exploring currency and transfer of value. And actually hearing him speak, I've never heard him speak about anything but Bitcoin, because I've only heard him at Bitcoin or cryptocurrency conferences.
Yeah.
But I would assume that he probably talks about Bitcoin or crypto, maybe even a little bit in other stuff, because it's one of those cornerstones. You talk about like emerging tech and things that people are interested in. He's always talking a lot about those things too. So I think that it definitely would probably come up in conversation anyways.
Yeah. So so you mentioned the like kind of punk rock ethos that really started Bitcoin, right? I mean, in the original white paper, it's
cypherpunk mentality, right?
Yeah, it's a response to the corruption in the banking industry and the 2008 collapse and all that. But for me at this point, Bitcoin is either mostly on these giant exchanges or owned by big banks or owned by multi-billionaires. So for me, Bitcoin no longer really fits.
That's not true at all, actually.
No?
If you look at the ratio to amount of Bitcoin per wallet, it has gone up significantly over the last decade or so. There's actually a graph that I was looking at, and it was like at the beginning of 2009, all of the Bitcoin was held in one wallet, so it's like the bar is this big.
Yeah.
But it starts getting smaller and smaller and smaller as it goes, and so there's more. There's Bitcoin is spread across more and more wallets every day. So that's definitely not the case. It's not that it's becoming
Really
like there's a few people who have all of the Bitcoin. It really isn't the case at all. There's more and more wallets being created, and that the distribution of Bitcoin is being dispersed amongst those wallets even more diversely every day.
Coinbase itself holds like a tremendous amount of the overall Bitcoin that exists.
What's that?
Coinbase itself holds a tremendous amount of the Bitcoin that exists at this point.
I mean, obviously there's a couple people who are, a couple entities that have large sums of Bitcoin. I don't think Coinbase is maybe even the top 5, honestly. There's some individuals that are well ahead of them, even as a organization. But yeah, I mean, still in general, when you talk about it, you're right. It's a very small industry. So when you talk about percentage of total population, clearly it's small, because it's like, well, what's even the percentage of total population that has a bank account?
Yeah.
People would think, 100%, right? No, dude, it's like 40%.
It might be. It might be less
globally.
Yeah. It might be less. I mean, when you look at like India and China, I mean, there's billions of people, and most of them live out in the country farming. They just don't have
right. The access to banking just isn't there. They don't have documents. There's lots of reasons why that's not the case, and that's one of the reasons why I think obviously Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies could have a fairly big impact. With simple technologies, just like SMS. You could have a bank account or be using Bitcoin and trading currency and not have to go through hoops by like having IDs or going through government regulation or whatever it may be.
Could. I'm still excited about the potential, but I am also frustrated because I feel like, okay, especially for me, I've been following Bitcoin since like 2010. It's 2020. That's like 10 years of following this, and it's like I feel like we really haven't gotten that far. Like I feel like we should be a lot farther along.
No, that's ridiculous. You're a moron. So what it comes down to, look what's happened in 10 years.
Call the host a moron, right?
Look where it's gone. You say, not a lot has happened in 10 years. Yeah. This went from being a twinkle in a couple of coders' eyes to being a respected asset class globally around the world, talked about and traded in some of the highest circles that are abound. So how can you say like it hasn't accomplished anything? I mean,
no, I'm not saying I'm not
in just one decade. I mean, it's taken other asset classes hundreds of years to get to that point.
I'm not saying it hasn't accomplished anything. That's not what I said. I'm just very frustrated by it.
You expected a lot more.
I expected a lot more because I mean, at this point, no, and let me explain. I expected a lot more. I understand that it's a respected asset class all over the globe, and that is something. It's achieved a few of the goals that I think it set out to achieve. But I go to the coffee shop and I'm using my Visa card, or I'm using cash, or I'm using something. There's not like when we were.
How long did it take for payments to become a online credit card payments become a mainstream thing that everybody did from the beginning of the internet to when they were mainstream? How many years do you think that took?
Oh, well, I mean, if you talk about the first credit...
So if you talk about the invention of the internet, right, for the ability for people to be able to send information, right, to the time that they created where even the first possibility of a credit card transaction was on the internet, from that time, how long do you think it took for it to become norm that people paid with a credit card to the internet? It took way longer than a decade. And that's just to use a credit card, man.
I'm impatient, I want disruption now. I want the disruption.
Me too. Now. I'm the same way. We're futurists, man. We're futurists. We overestimate how quickly humans will adapt and adopt the best technology. We're always on the cutting edge, so we always kind of expect like, oh man, well everything should already be run by low-level AI with automation at every point that you can possibly do it. And to us, it makes a lot of sense, but to most people, they're just like.
Okay, let's. I know. I totally agree with you. So let's. Okay, so let's segue off of that a little bit. You said we're both futurists. I agree. That's one of the things we have in common. That's why we've been friends for so long. Outside of the music thing too. What technologies or technology do you think is really exciting that you've kind of been watching that's not crypto related?
That's not crypto related.
Yeah. I asked the crypto stash.
No, that's great, man. I love tech. I'm like I said, I'm always about that kind of stuff. Honestly, man, some of the coolest things that I've seen that I am really interested. At the top of my list is biohacking. So
Huh.
the ability now that biohacking has become, I wouldn't say easy, but more approachable to the average consumer with like this whole CRISPR stuff that you can literally order these like home CRISPR kits
Yeah.
and like self experiment on you. And then there's this whole industry popping up around this, and I think biohacking and the whole like self-service biomedical industry is going to be a huge thing that's going to explode here over the next few years. So I think that's a really big industry. And then space is always one of my biggest things. So I follow all things space. So I love what SpaceX is doing, what Virgin Atlantic is doing, what some of these other companies are collaborating on to do anything that has to do with space. So
I'm so excited and impatient for Starship. I can't even hardly breathe because it's like, if he gets that done, the economy of scale as far as price per kilogram to orbit is going to be
yeah,
so much cheaper even than the Falcon. The reusable Falcons are only like
right.
89% reusable or something. The Starship's supposed to be like 99% reusable. So I mean
Yeah.
that's going to drop all the prices massively. What are your thoughts about do you see any unforeseen consequences of those advances that we're making right now?
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Like
I mean, there's
such
unforeseen
as
consequences always of every technological advancement we ever have. So, is there going to be an unforeseen consequence of the creation of Bitcoin?
yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure there will be.
Yeah. Already have been.
Just I mean, that's everything. Was there unforeseen consequences of the creation of
No,
nuclear technology? Of course there was.
I'm looking for your insight. Like, do you see an unforeseen consequence, like a specific one, like
A
what?
very specific one.
Yeah.
I, okay, well, if I'm looking at these three categories, so if we look at unforeseen consequences in crypto, like new currency, like frontier,
Yeah.
biomedical hacking, right? Like more consumer-focused biomedical products that you can change your body and stuff like
Yeah.
genetics, right? And then space stuff. So, okay, I'll go in that order. So,
Okay.
cryptocurrency, unforeseen consequences, hastening a complete collapse of fiat currencies, which cause a lot of death and destruction. I mean,
Yes.
I'm all for it too, man, but I
Yeah.
don't want it to happen in a way that causes unnecessary, cause of harm or death or destruction. I don't want to have
I don't want that.
anarchy,
I don't want that.
rioting, people dying,
I don't
killing
want
for
that. I don't want that either. But I feel like
Nobody wants.
I don't. I feel like on a certain level, like that's going to be kind of inevitable.
And it may be, and that's what I'm saying. So it may be one of those things where it's like we intend, this currency revolution to be peaceful, creation of another, of another paradigm, not trying to change what already is, but creating a new one. And we feel that as a peaceful protest of the current situation we have with, fiat currency and central banking and all those things.
The petrodollar.
But right, yeah, the petrodollar. But the powers that be may turn that into a bloody thing because we have no choice or because there's no choice. I don't know, but that could be an unforeseen consequence of starting a currency revolution that like Bitcoin has started.
Yeah.
So that's what I see in crypto. So then if I go into biohacking,
Yeah.
I actually had like an hour-long conversation with the dude at a after party after a conference, and we talked about this, and we were talking about how people will start biohacking, adding different features to themselves. Maybe somebody wants to look more like a cat, and they want to add some genetic cat features, and then so those types of things. I think that we'll start to see, a lot of crazy stuff that you can easily do from home, and people doing them out, and then having unintended consequences like alligator people that start eating people's faces off because it look bad. The genetics are all mixed up and
We have that already.
The fly style, like kind of, maybe not that extreme, but
yeah. Well, we have that already. I mean, if you go through downtown Honolulu, I can definitely find somebody who will eat your face off. So, but I was more talking specifically about space, though. What do you think of the unforeseen consequences of that?
I'm getting to space. Yeah. That was the third one, man.
Yeah.
Okay, so now space, unintended consequences. You think about, okay, well, all the things that we're going to be doing here coming in the next 10 years in space. We're going to go mine asteroids.
Yeah.
Right? We're going to go to Mars.
Yeah.
This is all happening in the next 10 years, right?
Yeah.
So, what are the unintended consequences of that? Well, the mining of asteroids, I think, is actually going to have quite huge consequences because it's going to give a new way to interject things that we once said were precious. So when you
Yeah.
say there's estimated this amount of gold on the planet, right? Because
Yeah.
we don't really know, but we can estimate, say, here's how much gold. But then if we know in an asteroid, because it's smaller, we can really estimate it.
Yeah.
We're adding that much more to the supply, which means gold can be an infinite resource because it's something we can always go find in other places.
Actually,
and that could be the same thing for like palladium or other metals that are rare.
You corrected me earlier, so I'm going to go ahead and correct you. We can actually tell, like within a certain parameter, how much gold there is on the planet. There's a way to tell by measuring chemicals in the atmosphere and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, that's it. I feel like I didn't know the process, but I feel like there was a relative. Like they can give us a relative number. Here's about how much there is.
Yeah, it's actually really close too. Is it? Yeah, it's like within a 1% of like what it actually is or something. But yeah, that is a very.
We'll look into that.
Yeah. No, I had a teacher in college who actually talked about that. It was very interesting. But
I don't trust teachers in college.
I don't either. Honestly, based on the teachers I had in college, I don't trust them all. I want to segue to that before we close. But I completely agree that I think things like palladium and iridium and these things that are like, rare on the planet because the only way we can get them is from asteroids and stuff. If we're mining asteroids, clearly we're going to have a lot more of it around here pretty soon. So,
yeah. So there could be some unintended consequences for those things. Not only the fact that we're changing the economy here on Earth, but how does that change patterns and things that we don't normally disrupt in the galaxy? Patterns of asteroids moving throughout the galaxy and what they're doing, and how does that then have unintended consequences on how things may be moving? Maybe it sends a domino effect and makes other asteroids then on a collision course with Earth, and it's crazy, fiery death.
Well, or like, have you watched the show The Expanse?
Yeah, I love The Expanse. I just watched the 4th season. Amazing.
Me too. I'm like immediately I got on my phone. I was like, when's season 5?
Yeah, they already have season 5. They've already greenlighted that, so it's already production. Because I think Amazon picked up and they just said, we'll give you 2 years. I read the story, and I guess Jeff Bezos was an Expanse fan, and so were a bunch of his employees. Yeah. So he's just like, I'll buy the show and just put it on Amazon since it was canceled on Sci-Fi and bring it back.
Great, man. That's great. I'm anti-Bezos and anti-Amazon, but I'm pro the Expanse.
Pro the Expanse. So a couple points in it.
I'll give Bezos gets to survive the revolution because of the Expanse. But it's interesting though because there's an episode. I mean, the last episode. Well, I don't want to no spoilers, but I mean.
Don't spoil.
At some point, terrorists are attempting to launch asteroids towards the Earth, which is kind of an obvious plot point if you think about it anyway. So
that was kind of a spoiler.
Well, but we don't know any details. I mean, if you think about it, though, if you're a terrorist, like that would be like one of the best forms of terrorism you could do, right? Like launch an asteroid at Earth. Like it's pretty horrendous.
I mean, if the space technology like they have in that show was available, you couldn't do it right now. We just don't have, it would be so cost prohibitive. It would be ridiculous, There'd be better ways to destroy your enemies on Earth if you really wanted to.
Yeah. I don't see Al Qaeda doing it anytime soon. even with all the CIA funding they already get.
Yeah. Let's not get into the whole political mess that is our country and world right now, huh?
Yeah, right. Yeah. So, okay, well, we talked about one more last thing, and let's just kind of leave on a funny, positive note. I have a big problem with centralized education. Having worked in the education industry for more than 20 years and having, been a teacher and an educator, as well as being on the administrative side, and then also having been a student and then having my kids go to school and all this kind of thing, I've just seen, like, the whole gamut of problems. So tell me, like, the most ridiculous or most misinformed or just whatever strikes you as funny about like your own education or what you've seen in the education field that's like most ridiculous.
That is an incredibly hard one because I am in the same boat as you. Now that I've had all of my experiences, I have a daughter that is in school and I've had to deal with her teachers and things. You really notice how broken our school system is here in the United States and why we're like 50th on the list of schooling in the world or something. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
The craziest thing that's ever happened, I don't know, man. I would say that probably some of the most recent things that were really crazy. I'm sure those things happened like when I was in college, but my daughter had this teacher last year in school, and the teacher is I don't want to put her on blast, but she's not very healthy, very kind of overweight,
Yeah.
older, tenured teacher.
Yeah.
And it's just like, she's kind of given up. So at the end of the year, we were going to get like cards and stuff for, the teachers to say thank you. And, my daughter was like, oh, well, let's get one for the TA. And I think her name was Miss Sophie. I don't remember, but she's like, because she's the best. And because essentially the TA was the only one ever doing any of the work because it was like a student TA.
Yeah.
And so the teacher wasn't even in the classroom most of the time. She just let the TA to do her work because she, didn't want to do it. And I'm like, this is just indicative of exactly what we have in this system of, teachers that are entitled, that just don't care enough anymore. I mean, a teacher should definitely be getting paid well, but we want the cream of the crop, man, and we're just not getting it as far as the people who are teaching our youth and the way we're going about teaching. It's just sad. So that was kind of like a very prime example, a window of like some of the things that are very acutely wrong with the schooling system.
So I'll just share my story briefly because I don't think I've ever posted this anywhere, and in case I get hit by a bus tomorrow, somebody needs to know. I had a psychology teacher in college, and she was like the weirdest pervert I've ever met in my life. And so we would be talking about all these different psychologists and like how they'd moved the field of psychology forward, like Pavlov or Freud or any of the famous psychologists. But every single story would eventually devolve into her personal story of masturbation. Like literally she'd be like, oh, and then Pavlov did this with the dogs and the bell and blah blah, and somehow it would twist over into like her story of like how she masturbated and like and how that was connected in some way with Pavlov. And she used to come, and at the time I was a waiter at an Italian restaurant. She would come into the restaurant and she'd sit in the section like, and I just knew I'm just like, oh God,
I think that was just for you, man. She was trying to get you. She was trying to get you in the sack.
It was not just for me because I talked to everybody else at the school, and if that was her class, every period of the day. It wasn't just third period or fourth period. It was fifth period, first period, all of them. So it was like, yeah.
Yeah, education, it needs to evolve. There are some countries that are doing some cool, like, forward-thinking things, but we're not doing that shit here in the United States, unfortunately.
Well, and that's the other thing that's killing me about this.
You can learn more from YouTube. Kids can learn more from YouTube than they can from a whole week of school. It's ridiculous. It's gotten to a point where it just, the way we learn and learning, it's so weird. It's going to have its own revolution, but...
That's the thing that really kills me is like anytime I want to learn something, I immediately pop up YouTube, and like try to find something. And right now it's the difficulty is it's not that it's not there. It is there. If I search all day, I'm going to find it probably. But the problem is half the time I have to search all day to find it, and it's like I'm going through like 700 videos to find like the one that I needed to like, enable the sound driver on some crazy software thing I'm doing,
Yeah.
It's like...
Well, the more obscure it gets, the harder it is to find content that someone's made on something. But, I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
If it's obscure information, then it's not going to be found in as many places. If it's common information, you'll probably find 1,000 videos on it that were made last week. So.
All right. Well, I think this has been a great chat. It's been super good to catch up with you. I think this format looks really cool too. Last question, and this is very personal. And,
no, that last question was the last question.
No, I had one last question.
What are you doing?
No, I meant to do this though. I forgot earlier. So I don't know if you know, but I've gorilla added you to one of my projects.
Oh yeah, which one?
Coin Kitty.
I've already been gorilla added to that project like 2 years ago.
I know, but you're still on the website and everything, and I haven't even talked to you at all.
That's funny.
So, but I was just wondering. I just wanted to ask you, like, while I'm here, just kind of clear the air. Like, your name is still on the site, sort of. I don't have a picture of you. I don't know, like, even if you want to talk about it or anything.
Just put a mustache.
I took your logo and put it on there, so it looks kind of cool, and I do want to talk to you about it at some point, but I just haven't got around to it. I kind of just launched the white paper like 2 weeks ago, so. So you may want to get on there and be like, I disagree.
Make sure I support it.
Yeah, you might want to get on there and be like, I disagree with everything he's saying. I don't want to be a part of this. So
you can put me on there for now before I review it, but put me on as Crypto Stache anti-advisor.
Anti-advisor?
Yeah. So most projects have like an advisor board or advisory position. I want to be I'll be the anti-advisor.
Okay. For
now.
I'm
and
into
then
that.
my position may change here in the future.
Okay, well, yeah, once you read it, you might be like, yeah, I'm like, just take me off.
Well, no, I can still anti-advise, right?
That's
See, that's
true.
that's the beauty about it. If I don't like the project, I can still anti-advise you.
Yeah.
But if I do like the project, you can make me an advisor.
Oh, there you go. All right, I'm in. I'm in. Hey, Shea, I really appreciate it. You took almost an hour out of your time. It's been great catching up with you. Stache and chops back in the house. I'm kind of growing my chops back out, but
You keep teasing me with that, man. Like we're gonna do another video, and then it doesn't happen.
well, I don't
Heart,
know.
my heart is broken.
Yeah, it's I don't know what to tell you. Hey, if you ever get out to Honolulu, as far as I know, there's nobody in town who takes crypto, but I would love to go. It's weird. Honolulu's a little bit
Why haven't you been on top of that then?
Oh, I ask all the time. I ask all the time. I'm like at
Then you need to get one victory, man. Before I come out there, you got to have one victory of a place that you convinced to take crypto.
That's a very good point. That's a very good
Or
point.
we can't do an episode if there's not even just. We got to have at least one spot.
Yeah, no. It's funny though because I'm down in Chinatown all the time, so they barely speak English, and I'm like, yeah, you guys take Bitcoin, and they're like looking at me like. And then like there's like a translation barrier, and 5 minutes later, like the daughter comes out of
Bitcoin's
the
universal,
kitchen.
baby.
Yeah, the daughter comes out of the kitchen like Bitcoin. No, my grandma doesn't
The
take
daughter
Bitcoin.
comes out, yeah.
Get out of here. Like okay, like,
It's
all right.
coming though, man. I mean, everyone will laugh at us right now, but in 10 years, no one will be laughing anymore.
No, I agree.
People who are smart aren't laughing anymore right now, but
Yeah.
the people who haven't just they're kind of behind on those things. They'll get it eventually, just like they did with the internet. It was, the people who were we were early internet adopters, and then you got kind of the people who were like that kind of curve where they're not quite mainstream, but they're a little ahead of the curve. And then you got those mainstream adopters, and those guys just don't come along until the very end. And
So it's that bell. It's that bell curve. We're still way over here in that skinny part of that bell curve. So
yeah.
Once we get to that big part of the bell,
that mountain, the mountain of the bell.
Just for fun, price prediction 2020. Where's Bitcoin going?
By what time?
Peak for the year.
So all time. So what I think is going to be the high for 2020?
Yeah.
I honestly, I want to say that we're going to see an all-time high here in 2020 because of a couple of factors.
You're stashing.
But it's a hard thing. It's a hard thing to be able to say. I want to see it. I want to see it happening because of the halvening and because of some other industries that are really pushing for Bitcoin to be incorporated in a bunch of different ways across different asset classes and ways to be able to invest in it. But I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know that we'll get to an all-time higher in 2020. I think that we're going to get back into the 14s, 15s, maybe even the 16s range. But I don't know that we're going to see like an all-time high. So that's what I think. I think that high for this year, I think we're going to see maybe in the 15, 16 range. I think we'll do a higher high than we did last year's high.
Yeah.
I think last year's high was what, like 14 something?
I think so. Yeah. I think
last year's high was like 14 something. So
yeah, I think it hit
14. I think we'll do a higher
right.
high than that. So I think it'll be in the 15, 16 range, maybe 7. But I don't think we'll hit that ATH. So I think that we're gonna hopefully we're gonna keep pushing the ceiling of a higher high, right? That's what we want to keep doing.
Yeah.
I guess over a year, I would love it for it to be sooner, but
Okay. Well, what do you think about ATL for this year?
I think we're low. I think we're near it, man. I think that we may have seen it. Honestly, we may have seen it in the 6,800 range. I think that where we're at right now. If we see it go below 7K, it may go to 6,800 and then bounce up. I don't know if it's going to go lower. If it does, I already have buy orders set, scaling in 6,800 and below for sure. So
yeah, okay, all right. Well, hey, thanks again, man. It's great to talk to you. It's really been good to talk to you, man. So let's do this again. Let's do it sooner than once a year.
You're on.
All right, brother. Take it easy.
Stash that crypto, friends.
Will do.